Ah yes, it's about time. The final boss, the Darth Vader of this subject. This question combines so many aspects that I believe that if you understand this question, you're on a very good way to understanding the principles of flight. So let's see what information is given. So the aircraft has swept back wings and is being skidded in a turn, meaning rudder is applied towards the inside of the turn, resulting in the nose pointing towards the center of the turn. But what happens as you yaw the aircraft with added rudder? Now picture this, the outer wing will travel faster through the airflow than the inner wing, resulting in an increase in lift on the outer wing. Further, part of the inner wing will be placed in the shadow of the fuselage, creating an area on the inner wing with no sufficient airflow, leading to a decrease of lift on the inner wing. This is called a yaw-induced roll. Now this effect will even be reinforced by the wing sweep, since the outer wing is placed at a more favorable angle to the relative airflow than the inner wing.
Absolutely correct, Joe. And since the pilot most probably does not want to increase the bank angle, he will counteract this by applying aileron in the opposite direction to avoid any excessive bank. And here comes the problem. I have tried to visualize this for you in a little sketch. In our example, the aircraft is in a left turn, so the pilot will apply right aileron to stop the additional left bank tendency. Now what this essentially does, it changes the wing's geometry where the ailerons are installed. As you know, the chord line of a wing spans from the leading edge to the trailing edge. By applying aileron, the vertical position of the trailing edge is changed over the width of the aileron, resulting in a change of the chord line. Now here comes the critical part. The angle of attack is measured from the relative airflow to the chord line. And as you can see in the sketch, due to the right aileron input, the angle of the inner wing will therefore increase rapidly over the width of the aileron, making the inner wing much more susceptible to a stall. By the way, the outer wing, on the other hand, could even experience a negative AOA, possibly putting it at an even lower risk of a stall than with neutral ailerons. But it's the inner wing that could potentially exceed the critical angle of attack.
Thanks, Fabian. That was clearly a tough one. So summing up what you've just said, it is an increase of the angle of attack on the inner wing due to an increased roll that has to be counteracted by applying opposite aileron. So it must be answer C.
Correct, Joe. And by the way, this scenario is a typical scenario that you are being warned about in flight school, since this mostly happens within the last turn of the pattern where the aircraft is already low and slow, and when the pilot realizes that he is overshooting the extended center line and decides to increase his rate of turn by applying rudder into the turn. The risk of having to counteract the yaw-induced roll and stalling the inner wing, especially at these low airspeeds, is extremely high, and nobody wants to stall or even enter a spin that close to the ground. So be careful there.
Very nicely summed up, my friend. Last, yeah buddy, for POF. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah buddy.
Yeah buddy, man.